Thank you guys so much for joining episode 2 of the Tyromper's No Limit podcast. Today, I am so pumped and excited to welcome a man here that is a preacher, a teacher, a financial educator. This is a man who literally has the biggest heart and the biggest faith, biggest generous spirit that I've ever come across. A man that's been blocked by Dave Ramsey on all platforms, allegedly. A man whose pronouns are cash and flow. The creator of Holy Shift. I can't wait to get into all this. My friend, my brother, I'm honored to welcome you on. Mr. Nate, brother Nate, how's it going, man?
Dude, it's going great. Man, I was driving earlier today and I got excited just knowing that my level of energy was about to hit a new level today just for being on here with you, man. So I'm pumped, man.
I appreciate that. And we've talked quite a bit off platform too. You're definitely always been one of my favorite people, man. I've always just a man I've looked up to and admired. So I appreciate you coming on, man, getting a chance to talk with you. For people that don't know you a little bit, could you just kind of give them the little elevator 1-2 minute speech about yourself, my man?
Yeah. So I'm 40 years old. I don't look my age, but I'm 40. My wife and I have been married for, this year is 21. So yeah, we'll be married 19 years this year. We have 4 kids. My oldest son's 17, youngest son's 14. My 2 girls are 11 and 8. We live in Southeast Texas area. Geographically speaking, we're about probably an hour and a half or so northeast of Houston in a small town. I have a background in ministry. I did youth and music ministry for a while and then became a pastor and pastor of church for several years. And now I'm doing financial education, just full-time in my business right now until God opens up the door for another ministry opportunity. And then, I'm blessed to be able to do business alongside ministry. And so just really looking forward to that. So yeah, it's just a little bit about me and kind of what's going on in my world right now.
That's awesome, brother. I appreciate you sharing that. And one thing that always pops out to me is, hey, man, we have this awesome community on Twitter that I think a lot of people don't understand. But when I think of money Twitter, faith Twitter, now you're fitness Twitter because you're freaking ripped. That's what I see, brother.
I'm not ripped yet. I mean, I look good in a V-neck, but I'm not where I want to be. I'll put it that way.
None of us are, though, right? Works in progress. Yeah. But you're always the man that jumps out to me as the most generous, big-hearted guy that I just look up to in so many ways. I mean, I know you don't give to be recognized, but brother, there's so many times where I've just had a friend of a friend mention, yeah, we were in a tight spot and Nate and his partner helped us out. And I know that, faith is such a big part of your life. And I didn't know you were in ministry before, but can you kind of walk me through then how you get offered a bank manager job. I know this, you turn it down to go into youth choir and ministry, and then how you get from that into coaching finance. Can we kind of walk through that?
All right. So at the time, I was actually a general manager at a bakery and coffee cafe. There's like a local chain in this area, and they had like 5 or 6 different locations, something like that. And so I was general manager there, and I had been approached about like filling in for a church that was in need of a music position. And they just asked if I would just fill in, until they found somebody, basically. And so I went and filled in for them one Sunday, and they were like, hey, instead of finding somebody, why don't you just do it? And I was like, well, I've been offered a position to run a bank up in Tyler, Texas. And so I'm only going to be here for a few more months in the area, but I will stay and help out, and fill the position and until it's time for us to leave or y'all find somebody. And they're like, okay. And so I was there for about 3 months at the church, and there was it was just very, very obvious to me. It was just something that was just giving me a lot of peace in my spirit about this is where I needed to be. And so, it was tough to have to do, but I had to call the bank manager or the regional manager of the bank and let them know that I wasn't going to be taking the position because I just felt like that's where God wanted us. And so I ended up turning that down, and I became the youth and music minister at the church. And I was there for about 8.5 years.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. And I assume would you tell like, so I recently resigned about 7 or 8 months ago from running a bank myself. And
right.
one of the funniest things one of my boss's boss said was, once you go down, you never come back up, kind of a stern. I'm sure you weren't making as much money going to do like youth choir as you were going to be. I'm sure you had a lot of people kind of questioning that decision, maybe in your ear. Kind of, can you walk me through that process of how you just felt that tug and went with it?
When you feel like God is trying to tell you something, that's really hard to explain to someone else. And I think, he puts people in our path that sort of affirm, some of the directions that he has for us at times. And, there were people who had been put in front of me. In fact, okay, so here's kind of a funny story is I was terrified to tell the regional manager who I knew personally. I was terrified to tell them that I was not taking the position. But when I got on the phone with her and I shared what had happened, she was just very understanding. And because she knew me personally, she said, this makes so much sense. This just makes so much sense. And so that was confirmation for me, along with some other people, family members and things like that in my life that said, yeah, we've seen it for a long time that, we felt like that's where God was going to put you. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. And I do feel like what you said, I definitely agree, is when, sometimes people say, what do you mean God is speaking to you? Is it an audible voice? Is it a burning bush? What's that look like? And, for me, when I knew it was time to leave the bank, God placed my assistant manager, a girl named Denise, who I love to this day. If you're watching this, Denise, shout out to you. She just walked in one day and said, "Hey, Tyler, what are you doing here?" Like it's so obvious that your gifts and your skills and all these other things, like we love you here. Don't get me wrong. We like having a high energy, crazy boss who comes in and plays basketball all day with all the clients and, all this stuff. But just like, it seems like your passions and all the things that you want to do are elsewhere. And I was like, all right, that was the last straw of God kind of saying, it's time to go on and do somewhere else. So how do you get from there to Holy Shift and building this massive 50,000 plus person network of people you're helping and can you run me through that process then?
Well, when I went to work at that church as the youth and music minister, so I was the youth pastor at the church, and then I was also leading the music for the church. It wasn't like a big mega church or anything like that, a smaller congregation. And so in addition to working at the church, I'd also been hired by a local State Farm agent to actually work in his office. And so he brought me in, and I got licensed for home and auto insurance, life and health, all that stuff. But it was a big agency. He had been there about 30 years in the town. And so he grew a really big book of business and everything like that. He had sort of specialists for each area of his business. And he brought me in as basically just a car insurance, like to do car insurance. Do car insurance, and State Farm also had a bank at the time. And so in addition to doing car insurance, I was also helping clients refinance their vehicles through State Farm Bank, things like that. So while I was working at the church, I was also working at State Farm. And then after being there for a couple of years, I was actually hired to go run a brand new startup agency in that town. So I became the manager of that agency, and I ran it for about 5.5 years.
Wow.
So it was primarily home and auto insurance. So I got my life insurance license back in 2010, but I never sold life insurance. Like it was always just home and auto insurance. But it was it was September of 2017 and Hurricane Harvey hit. And I had a contractor friend of mine approach me and asked me, he said, the way they used to write up appraisals or insurance reports for remodeling homes and things like that, they used to just be able to put it on a one-page paper and that be it. And he said, now they want a very detailed report of like where all of the money is going. And it was this program that all the insurance adjusters used. And he asked me if I would train myself in this program, learn how to use it, and actually start doing some work on the side for him. So I did that for a month, and it was great. I enjoyed it. The money was good, but he ran out of work for me to do. So he said, why don't you just kind of market yourself to other contractors as well until I get more work for you? I was like, okay. So I did that. And within about a month of doing that, I walked away from my insurance agency where I was at and just went into that full time. So basically I had my own little consulting business where I was working with different residential contractors on these reports. And, you know, these reports were like 90 pages long of like all the building materials and labor costs and all that stuff that goes into, you know, rebuilding a house or redoing a house, whatever. So the money was really good at the time. I was making really good money, but it wasn't anything that I was really passionate about.
Yeah.
It didn't, I didn't wake up with purpose, you know, doing that.
Yeah.
And I knew also that it was something that was going to be short term until I figured out what I was going to do next. And it was January of 2018 when I read this book, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. And immediately, the concept immediately started clicking with me. It started making a lot of sense really, really quickly. And I had to send it to my buddy Brandon, who was my accountability partner at the time. I said, man, read this book and tell me what you think about it. Now, a little bit of background on both Brandon and I is we both had Dave Ramsey backgrounds. And after reading Becoming Your Own Banker, I knew, man, this is a book that Dave Ramsey is not going to like. And so Brandon was so hardcore Dave Ramsey that his wife called him DR in the house, affectionately, for Dave Ramsey. Like, that's how hardcore he was. So I knew out of everybody I knew that if Brandon saw value in what I just read, that there was something to it.
That's funny.
So he reads the book. It takes him a little bit longer to process because he had to unlearn a lot of stuff. And then he comes back to me. He's like, man, if this is real, this is crazy. And I was like, all right, that's what I thought too. So the next step for us was like, well, what do we do with this? Like, what do we do with this information? So started doing some research, found a podcast. These two guys that were based out of Kansas, their podcast, Life, Success, and Legacy. And we started listening to it. They were just very genuine in their conversation. They were very matter of fact about what the concept of infinite banking was and what it was not. They weren't trying to oversell it or, you know, blow it up into something it wasn't. And also they were believers, and we were just really drawn to their conversation in their episodes of their podcast. So we reached out to them and said, hey, we're these two, you know, knuckleheads from East Texas who read this book, and we got to figure out what to do with it. So we became their clients, but we just became really excited about the concept. And it gave us a peace and hope about our finances that we never had before. And, you know, one day Brandon and I were just like, man, if we feel this good about what we're doing, like, wouldn't it be cool to just go out and share it with other people? What Mike and Kristen do. So we told them, hey, we've just been inspired by y'all. You know, we want to do what y'all are doing. And so they agreed to mentor us. So they just poured into us for like 2 years. Wow. And taught us everything they knew. And they finally kicked us out of the nest. They said, all right, y'all got it. And
and that's what you guys have been running ever since then, right?
Yep. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now.
Amazing. I want to get more into that and exactly what that is. But first, I just want to say, you know, you inspire me in so many ways, brother. But like what I hear from this and sort of your journey here is what I hear often from people. Well, I hope God opens doors. I hope these things happen. But when I hear your story and how you got to where you were and where you are now, it's a lot of work, man. It's, hey, I went and I took this job. I side hustled here. This door wasn't open. I broke it down. You're just journeying through that and always moving forward. And I think that's a great lesson for anybody listening here, that I'm sure a lot of those times along the process, you might've thought, I'm waking up and like what you said, I'm not really fist pumping. I wasn't fist pumping to go to the bank every day, but I found value in it, how I could get better, how I could increase my skill set, how I could side hustle on the side to build and create that life you want. So can you talk a little bit about that first of, some of those roadblocks come up and how you kind of always kept moving forward to create this sort of business and life that you wanted?
Well, I grew up in a family where my dad was a business owner. He had a athletic shoe store, kind of like a Foot Locker, and it was independently owned. So he started in 1989 and owned it all the way up until he passed away in 2012 from cancer. He left it to me and my brother. But growing up in that environment where my dad could basically just be there for whatever he wanted to be there for. Like, I always had a deep desire to just want to be there for my family when they needed me to be there. And it took some trial and error along the way. There's a lot of failures that I could talk about of things that I tried that didn't work. But it was always just the ultimate goal was just to be able to be there for my family. And helping people along the way is what really drives me more than anything else. Is if I can do something that I can support my family with, but also I know that if somebody listens to what I tell them, they're going to be better off. Like that just, it fuels my fire.
Yeah, that's the dream right there, man. There's nothing better, right? And that was the turning point for me too. I remember, when I really got serious was when my daughter started getting big enough. And I remember her crying as I left the door at 7:00 and she had just woken up and, well, daddy's not going to be home till 5:45 now, and I want to create a life where I'm around more, and you mentioned Brandon unlearning earlier, your business partner, but I think society kind of teaches you more stuff, more of this, more of that, bigger this, bigger. That's what happiness is. To me, happiness is just, it's freedom of time. It's health. It's a peaceful mind. It's a big faith, a mission and vision bigger than yourself, which is what you alluded to too, right? Like when you're helping other people create this generational wealth, legacy, freedom, all these things, how great does that make you feel? So can we kind of get into that a little bit and this, is it Holy Shift? Is that just the name of the book or is that the program or?
Well, yeah, it's just the name of the course. And it really it has a twofold meaning. One, well, I take that back. All right. So part of it was just in the fact that it's going to catch people's attention when they hear it.
It's a great name.
But the real meaning behind it is because infinite banking is so different from everything else that's out there. It requires a righteous shift in your behavior, in your thinking. Like you are separating yourself from the masses. You're separating yourself from what everybody else is doing. So even though it is catchy, there is like some real, it was actually thought out. It wasn't just, hey, let's use this name because it'll get people's attention. But it's Holy Shift, rethinking your money paradigm, because that is what it requires. And I didn't know that I was just operating on a very inefficient level at the time in my life, because at that point I thought I knew all there was to know about money. I mean, I went to school for business and finance. I was following Dave Ramsey. I'd read all his books, listened to him on the radio profusely. Like, I mean, I felt like, yeah, save up, pay cash was like the absolute best thing you could possibly do. And it wasn't until about 2012 that my thinking was challenged a little bit, because I met a very, very successful business owner, and we're riding in the car one day and he's listening to the radio and Dave Ramsey comes on. And I was like, oh, you listen to Dave Ramsey too? And he goes, yeah, he's kind of entertaining, but he doesn't have it all figured out. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I was like, this guy's way more successful than I am. And he's telling me that Dave doesn't have it all figured out. And he starts talking about, leveraging money a little bit. And that was the wrinkle in my paradigm that sort of set me on a path. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad shortly after that. And that was really where I came to the conclusion that, okay, Dave doesn't have it all figured out. There's definitely more to money than what I thought at the time. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is really what prepared me for becoming your own banker. Because Rich Dad Poor Dad was sort of the just that starting point to my true financial education. And then when I read Becoming Your Own Banker, it was just like, all right, I've compared it to the third dimension. So like what we see with money, it seems very two-dimensional. It's like, okay, there's not much to it, it's, medium of exchange, whatever. But infinite banking, like it brought it off the page and it created this third dimension where like you just look at it from a slightly different angle and all of a sudden you're just like, wait a minute, what? Like, how's this possible?
So when people go through your program then, and you kind of change the way they're thinking, is this sort of like one-on-one coaching, or that, they get access to you and Brandon and you kind of walk them through their personal finances and you guide them through that whole journey? Is that kind of what that looks like then?
Yeah. So the initial step is just going through the videos that we created, which is just giving an overall view of the concept so that people can kind of start wrapping their mind around it. Once they complete the videos, if they want to continue on with their education, then we'll ship them out a copy of Becoming Your Own Banker. We ship those out all over the country every week. So we ship them out a copy of the book. It's only a 90-page book, so it's not very intimidating. They go through that, and then they have instructions on how to connect with us and schedule calls with us going forward. We get on, maybe one or two more phone calls and just get their questions answered. And then if they want to move on to the next step, which is the discovery and dream process, then we start learning more about their situation. They can input some of their information into our system. And then we set up a series of Zoom calls where we talk through their situation, learn more about their goals and dreams, what they're wanting to create, get clarity on those things. And then we actually work on a custom strategy that's built around their resources and their goals, so they actually get to see what this looks like in their life. So we're able to take it from theoretical of, okay, this is a cool idea, to reality of, wow, okay, now I see how this actually would fit for my situation.
That's awesome. Would somebody need to have a certain level of wealth to be able to approach you guys? Or is this something that, hey man, we can do for the average Joe, just the guy that's even plowing away at the 9-to-5, but has a bigger vision? We can help him get to that level.
Yeah. So when I learned about infinite banking, I didn't have a lot of money. I had a ministry job where I was working at the church. And so I had debts and things like that I was working through. Some of that was just stupid decisions on my part. Some of that was just some stuff that was completely out of my control. So I had some stuff that I was working through. And, we have clients who, like one in particular I can think of, like we have clients who just graduated college. They've got their first job. Now they've got all this student loan debt, and they're just trying to figure out how to work through that in the most efficient way possible. So yeah, the beauty of it is it can pretty much be scaled to whatever your situation is. As long as you got a little bit of wiggle room in your budget each month, there is a place for this. And the beauty of it is when we design a strategy for someone, if it adds 1 ounce of stress to their financial life, then we have completely screwed up. We have not done our job, because infinite banking is all about freeing you up as quickly as possible. It's not about putting more stress on you.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you saying that too. And I feel like you making it like an individual thing probably draws you so close to your clients too, man. You mentioned being fulfilled in what you do, and boy, I can resonate that. An hour before this call, I'm hopping on a call with one of my clients, and just hearing him kind of celebrate these victories, you're seeing people's lives change. Like there's really nothing more fulfilling than that, right?
Oh man, I get text messages every day. Like it just keeps me up there all day long, because I get these text messages all the time. They're just like, thank you so much. I just got this one like right before I hopped on here, and he said, let's see, He said, Nate, I know we haven't spoken in quite some time. Hope you're doing well. I have been meticulously capitalizing my policies and just decided to pay off my mortgage through my policy loans. He said, it's such a cool feeling to be able to make payments to myself instead of the mortgage company. I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate your help so much in educating me on this concept.
That's awesome, man. You're just like literally changing people's lives, man. That's that, and generations to come too, right? That's incredible.
And that guy was a very, very successful business owner.
Yeah.
And that's it. But again, it can be scaled to whatever your situation is. So as long as you are willing to rethink your thinking, this can work for you.
I tweeted that out a couple of days ago, that most of being a successful adult is unlearning what society programmed into us for 2 decades. Like, sounds like this is very similar to that, right? Like,
absolutely.
You've been taught of banks are your friend. You know, I thought banks were my friend until I started running one, man. And then I realized they're not really on your side, man. They're there to make a profit. They're not a nonprofit.
Right. Well, and most people don't even know how banks make money. They make money off your money.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the only way they make money.
Can I ask real quick, do you get any pushback from sort of the Christian crowd, or, you know, because money's the root of all evil and you help people with money and you deal in these terms? Do you ever have any pushback like that, or what would be your response to something like that?
Not really, because, you know, our process is about educating people on a concept and helping them just show them how to make their situation more efficient. So we just look at what you're already doing and we just show you how to maximize the efficiency of it. Like, I'm not pumping people up. I'm not pumping my clients up saying, yeah, you're going to be multimillionaires. And yeah, we're going to do, like, it's not one of those things.
So you're not in Litecoin or Dogecoin or any of these.
None of those things.
Gotcha.
I've lost money in both, by the way.
I pretty much quit looking at crypto. I invest a certain amount in Bitcoin and Ethereum every month. Yeah. I don't look at it. That's pretty my strategy right now.
That's kind of what I'm doing. I moved some of my Bitcoin over to one of the exchanges that I can leverage against it. I can actually take loans against it. So then it creates a little bit of liquidity instead of just sitting there and holding on to it.
Nice, man. That's awesome. Well, if I can, I want to pivot real quick just to, you know, you're a man that, I mean, I had maybe 200 followers, something like this. You have, you know, tens of thousands. You're this huge account, you know, a man I really looked up to with your faith and admired you a lot. And then, you know, one day it's my all-time favorite Twitter moment, man, where we're engaging. I'm at the bank at this point, and all of a sudden you say, hang on, Ty, I'm going to send you this DM. And it's you singing a cappella in this choir thing that you went into. It's the greatest video I've ever seen. I never shared it because you asked me not to share it, but I think something I've taken away from you and I really admire now that God's sort of given me a little platform too, is to, man, I don't really care if people have 9 followers or 90,000. I'm just going to be the same to everybody and be cool to everybody. And I always see you doing that, man. And, you know, I know you don't give to be recognized, but brother, there's hundreds of families eating in Swaziland, South Africa, because of what you and your partner did, you know, and like that. I recently heard last week of just one of my buddies on Twitter who is going through a really rough time, and you and your partner helped him out and his family. And like, I hear these stories all the time, man, of you and your partner doing these great things. And can you just talk a little bit about the role of faith, the role of something bigger than yourself, having that purpose, that how's that affect your business? How's that affect your life?
Well, the people that I connected with early on in Twitter world, I tried to tell them, I tried to warn them, like, I'm not like everybody else. Me and Brandon work very hard in our business to give it all away, and it just keeps multiplying. Because, like, I mean, man, we've just been so blessed. Like, I mean, we're not like filthy rich or anything like that, but, you know, our families are taken care of. You know, we don't have people that we answer to. We're not punching a clock for anybody else. Like, man, we're just so blessed. And so one of the things that before we actually made a dime in our business, Brandon and I both have just always had hearts for helping people. So we work really, really well in that regard. But we decided day one, even though we give our our tithe to the Lord in our own personal finances, we wanted to be a company that gave back, that gave to the Lord. And so we set aside a certain percentage of every dollar that comes into our business. And I won't say how much, but because, anyways, we set aside a certain percentage of our business to specifically just sending out into the community, into the world, and being a blessing to other people, but making sure they know where it's coming from. Hey, it's not coming from us, it's coming from the Lord. And what a testimony that is, to be able to help someone with that physical need, but also touch on that spiritual need that they have. Whether they're a Christian or not, when you're helping somebody, they want to hear whatever else you got to say. They're open to it at that point.
That's right. Amen, brother.
So,
I think that's a huge point you make there too, that, even my wife's nonprofit, they're not a Christian organization, right? They don't go in and say, hey, if you believe in Jesus, we'll serve food to you. No, man, we're just going to serve food to everybody. And then, hey, if you want to talk about why we do it, well, I'll share Jesus with you. And I kind of feel like that's the best way to lead. And I see you model that so well. Like, you live your faith with such a bold way, but you're not going out and telling people you're going to hell if you do this. You just live in a great, authentic way. And then you share it when people ask. I feel like you preach the gospel every day through your actions. And then when people ask about it, you do get to share that, man. But your faith has really inspired me, brother. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, man. And it's obvious you and Brandon just have a bigger mission than you guys itself, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. We the goal really with what we're doing on Twitter and on social media and stuff like that, our ultimate goal is to inspire other entrepreneurs to look outward, because there's a lot of people, that hustle culture. It's all about me. It's all about getting money, getting mine, all this other stuff. And, we're just wired different. Yeah. We want to take care of our families, but, we want to make sure that other people are seeing Jesus through us.
Man, that's beautiful. And I think that life is even counterintuitive this way. I don't know if you'll agree with this, but, I played in sort of the mid to higher stakes poker community for 8 to 10 years. And I got to know some people who had extreme wealth. I mean, we're talking, played in some games with the guys that had the B word in their name, they were billionaires.
Yeah.
Some of those guys were the most unhappy people I've ever met in my life. It was never enough, and one of the big time players I played with that became really good friends with, I remember him telling me one day, he said, Ty, I always thought once I became a millionaire, I'll be happy. And he's like, and then I hit it. And I always thought, once I make 5 million, I'll be happy. And I hit it. And once I make 10, I'll be happy. And he goes, dude, I drive around in $1 million car. I have a $10 million house, and I'm so unhappy. I'm more unhappy. I don't even know why I get out of bed anymore, And I think it's to what you allude to. If you don't have a mission bigger than yourself and your own happiness, life's kind of counterintuitive that way, man. If all I think about is how can I make Tyler happy, dude, I'm chasing a fart in the wind, man. I'm never going to be able to find it, But if you have a mission bigger than yourself, it kind of takes care of itself, right?
Absolutely. You know what I would have told that guy? Start giving your money away until you feel happy.
That's powerful, man. That's really powerful. I wrote down a goal a couple nights ago. My wife has a similar heart to you. She makes me a better person. I hope to be a reverse tither at some point in my life. I'd love to be able to give 90% away. I just think how great would that be, set a goal for myself. Well, as both of us sit here and sip on water constantly, because we're now fitness guys, man, I got to talk about your fitness journey a little bit here, man. I know you hired a great coach off Twitter, a guy that inspired me to start really getting into pull-ups and outdoor body workouts and all these things. Can you kind of walk me through your fitness journey? Because you look chiseled. You look really good, brother.
Well, I'm working on it. Jack Colson. Jack is actually one of my first friends that I made on Twitter. Like there's a small group of guys that I met very, very early on. Jack Colson's one of them. Jeff Putnam is one of them.
Love that guy.
Ryan Stevens, another one. And then Birth of Clarity, Roscoe.
Nice. Love him too.
And then Chris, the Primal Man, which, he's doing his business Defiant, on Instagram and all that stuff. So he hasn't been as active in a while, but he's out there too. those guys were kind of like my ride or die on Twitter from the very beginning. When we first got started, we just kind of started hanging out in a little group and getting to know each other more and more, getting on the phone, meeting each other in person, all this stuff. But Jack Colson, it was January of this year that I stepped on the scale, and I've been so focused on business and growth and all those things that I kind of, lost sight of the important things, which is your health. And so I stepped on the scale in January, which I hadn't stepped on a scale in a while, and I saw a number that I was just not real happy with. And I knew that, all right, I gotta take some action. I gotta do something different. So reached out to Jack naturally, because he's ripped, but he's also a close friend of mine. So I said, man, I need you to kick my butt, get me going, get me in gear. And so he worked on a plan for me, started following that. And I've lost about 15 pounds since I started.
Awesome, brother.
Starting to see the good stuff.
How many days a week he's got you doing hill sprints, man? Jack's always posting about the hill sprints. Man. He loves those things.
Yeah, there's not really any like good hills around here. So whenever I'm doing any sort of like incline running or anything like that, I'll either do it at the gym or I'll find like a set of bleachers at the school or something like that and run on those.
Nice. Well, dude, testament to your hard work, man, because that's the first thing I noticed. We talked on video, what was it, several months ago, and I know you were getting started then and stuff, and you still look good, but man, I mean, you're chiseled in the face now, brother. It's looking good, man. Congrats.
I appreciate that.
Well, dude, I'm coming to the point in the pod where I do this thing called a rapid fire questions, where I'm going to fire off just 5 quick questions for you. I'd like you to say the first thing that comes to mind, my man. Get to know you a little better here. Who's your favorite follow on Twitter, present company excluded?
Man, I have so many Twitter homies. That's hard to pick. I'm going to go outside of like people that I know really, really well. And I'm going to say Taylor Welch and I recently connected, and I've been following him for a few months. And man, some of the stuff he shares is just really powerful. And I'm really, really enjoying a lot of his stuff right now.
Awesome, man. All right, I'll be sure to check him out too. Favorite character in the Bible that you sort of relate to?
Man, it's got to be David. To be called a man after God's own heart, like, man, if only God saw me that way,
Yeah, I relate to David a lot too, man. How you can be on a mountaintop one day and then you can have the thought go here and you're like, what am I doing? And then you kind of come back to that center. As you read a lot in David's Psalms, so he's always kind of come back to that center spot,
Well, there's probably more raw emotion in Psalms than you'll find in probably any other literature.
Yeah. Zach Hommel spoke on that a while ago. And he said, even if you don't believe the Bible is divine, it's the most beautiful writing. You can learn so many life lessons. Like, even if you don't think it's divine, man, you can just study Jesus Christ's life and be a better person if you're just looking at him like any other person that's walked the earth,
Well, you know what is interesting? You said that. I saw a tweet that went viral recently where I think it was a girl who tweeted out something along the lines of, if the Bible was man-made, then why does it speak against all the natural tendencies of man? And I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to think on that. I'll be journaling about that tonight. Thanks, brother. I like that one. All right. A perfect credit score or 2K cash flow a month. What are you choosing?
Shoot. I mean, the cash flow is nice, but the reality is, like, if you understand how to leverage debt properly, a great credit score can increase that number exponentially on the cash flow side of things. So I think I'd have to go with a credit score right now.
All right. I'm interested. I can't wait to learn so much more about you after this, man. All right. Here's a fun one. I think Dave Ramsey is blank in one sentence.
A master marketer.
Yeah, he's built a pretty impressive empire around just pay off your debts, right? What are the odds, last question, that we can get an a cappella one verse of Amazing Grace from a former church choir teacher?
Man,
And you know what? If
me
I'm putting you on the spot, you don't have to do this, man. I'm just joking around about it.
Well, I mean, I sang live on Twitter one time.
When was this, man? How did I miss this?
It was before your time. It was March of 2019.
Yeah, I wasn't on then.
So it was kind of a running joke. I told the small following I had at the time that when I hit 1,981 followers on Twitter, 1981 is my birth year, that I would go live and I would sing a hit song from 1981.
That's awesome.
And dadgummit, man, somebody decided that would be entertaining and they started like pumping me up. so that didn't take very long. And then, so once I hit it, then I had to try to figure out what song I was going to sing.
What song did you go with?
Well, I asked the audience, hey, what song should I sing? They gave me a list and then we put it in a Twitter poll and everybody voted.
That's awesome.
And the vote was Jesse's Girl. So I sang Jesse's Girl on Twitter.
Is there still live video of this? I'm surprised you can tweet, you know?
You know what? It's still out there somewhere.
All right, so it's up to you. I'm gonna give you the.
I may find it and send it to you.
I like that, man. I already got one video of you, so maybe that's enough, you know.
Well, I mean, I went live, so I had like a captive audience. So I took about 8 minutes, like just talking about my business, and then I finally sang.
It's a smart way to do it too, man.
Yeah, I'm not a bad marketer myself.
Right, I like that. Well, you've built a network of 50,000 plus now, I know, across platforms and things like this, man. And the thing that I love about you too is there just seems to be no ego, man. And again, for you, it's not about you. It's always about giving back and helping people, man. I appreciate that. If you could tell people, you know, maybe where to find you, where to contact you, how they could get in touch with you, you know, maybe let people know.
Do you want me to sing?
I'd love it if you sang, man. I mean, I could pump this up on Twitter. This will be the biggest podcast ever if I tell people that you're singing, man.
All right. Well, my throat's been a little scratchy today. But I got to take this headphone off so I can hear myself. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Bro, you are the man. I'm about to be lifting my arms in praise, man. This is how I lift weights. I got the praise music on. I'm usually dancing. I'm lifting my arms. I'm like, so that's beautiful, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Man. You have a very good voice, man. There's a reason my wife and I go to the biggest church here in Henderson. There's like 10,000 people. It's because I have the worst voice you'll ever imagine. And I want to be able to sing and praise. I don't want anybody to hear it, man. I appreciate that, brother, man. You're the coolest, dude. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Can you tell people where they could find you? Because I imagine there's going to be a lot of people watching this that would want to reach out or say, hey, man, I want to learn how to leverage my money or get better at these things.
Yeah. So probably the easiest way to connect is through Twitter or Instagram, either one. Twitter, my personal profile is Chronicles of Nate on Twitter. Excuse me. And then our Instagram channel that me and Brandon run together is ULC Money. ULC Money. Our name of our company is Unlimited Life Concepts. So just shorten it, ULC Money. And our program, Holy Shift, we talked about earlier, you know, that is just the gateway to our educational process. if you want to learn more about this, if you want to connect with us and work with us and let us teach you some stuff, that's the place to start. It comes with a money back guarantee, although very few people have ever used it. So if you go through our entire program and you don't see the value in that, we will gladly just hand your money back to you, because we're never going to take a dollar from someone that we're not willing to hand right back to them. So there is literally no risk. The only risk is learning something new.
That's awesome. And I'll be sure to link all of your info in the description below this video too, because I'd love more people to reach out to you, man. And, you know, take control, man, as we see some crazy things happening and maybe government reach coming in where, you know, this could become a problem. Hey, these are some strategies you can use, right?
Well, and that's one of the important things for people to understand is infinite banking is a private contract with a private company. It's a contract with a life insurance company. And most people don't realize this, but the life insurance industry is probably one of the most profitable industries in our nation's history. Going back all the way to the Great Depression, you could look at times where banks were not lending money to anybody because they had tightened up so much, where life insurance companies were still lending money to their customers, because that is one of the benefits of storing money inside of your life insurance policy is they will actually allow you to leverage those dollars where they're growing inside the policy, and you can simultaneously use them somewhere else in your life, which is where it becomes really powerful.
Wow. My buddy Steve is starting to learn a lot about this. And last time we chatted, I need to call Steve. This reminds me, but yeah, he's been learning a lot about this and studying this too, and saying it's like a cheat code for life.
It's crazy, man. It's wild.
That's nuts. So I'll be sure to link all that info below, and then I'll link all mine too, or you can find me and follow me. I appreciate if you guys like and find value from these videos, man. Please like, subscribe to the channel. That helps us out a lot. Throw a comment below. I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. Nate, thank you. Bottom of my heart, brother. You know, I love you to death, man. I appreciate everything you do and put out and give to the world, man. And we'll let you get back to your family, your 4 beautiful kids and wife, and have a great rest of the day, brother. Thank you.
Man, you as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, brother.